You wrote in your op-ed in the Daily Texan today that turning student apathy into engagement might be a factor of finding issues that really speak to students now. What do y'all find to be big issues on campus that could promote student engagement and turn apathy into engagement?
So I think there are a lot of smaller issues that students care about but don't really realize are connected to politics. So a lot of students use Uber and Lyft, and I've seen how that helps them or don't like it, and that connects a lot to city council, which a lot of people just don't realize. So I think it's about realizing the small changes around you, how you feel about them, and just finding the connection to government.
I think the biggest topic that's trending right now on UT campus is obviously campus carry, and I think that's the one that people really like to talk about. But as far as affecting students' lives here and after university, I think some of the topics that fall under fiscal policy and economic impact of all of these congressional decisions are a lot of the topics that aren't being talked about. So I think it's really important for all of us to bring that to light in our public policy discussions.
Another thing I think is really important on the state level is just how much UT does interact with the Capitol, especially since we're so close and we're, I think, the #1 employer in Texas, the UT system as a whole. So issues like tuition rates, funding that we get from the state, the top 10% rule, there are things that very directly impact students. And through the state relations agency, we have a partnership program with Texas Access where students can be paired with a mentor who's a Texas alumni and go lobby at the Capitol to really make our representatives understand how students feel about these issues that are going to affect their checkbook, for example.
Yeah. So John, you're a university-wide representative. Why do you think that student participation in student government elections is, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't student participation in student government elections lower than it is in national elections?
I believe it's a little bit lower, but it's pretty similar for our age demographic. In the last election for student government, I think a little under 10,000 people voted, so right at around 20% of campus, and I don't think that's good enough. A lot of the candidates said that, that was right on the target for, college-age students. But I think that definitely needs to be changed because student government has so many great services and ways to get involved on campus, and I think it's definitely where the three of us have found a niche on campus. The SAC, that was a student government initiative. Lights in the PCL, lights in the FAC. Student government does so many awesome things, and I think once students start to see that, then they'll really start engaging more. But it's our responsibility to kind of bring these issues and all the great things that we do to the attention of every student.
Yeah, because I feel like student government is something that directly affects students, whereas students might have the perception that, I guess, like you said, less glamorous issues in national politics or state politics don't really apply to them. Do you think that it's an issue of increasing student government services and that then maybe students will notice, or I don't know, and Sasha, maybe you can speak to this because I understand that your role is about promoting student engagement in state and national elections as well as campus elections.
Oh, I guess I didn't address the first part of that question. So I think it is student government's responsibility to increase the amount of services that we do, and I think that's traditionally been a problem. Last year in the assembly, we passed all these resolutions stating our opinions on things, but resolutions in my eyes, the student government passes, are supposed to solidify initiatives, right? You're not supposed to pass a resolution and then you wave it in the face of the legislature and say this is what students believe. You have to work with whatever party you're addressing, you need to work with them first and then write the resolution and say this is what students want and then use it, because it devalues our organization and our voice as a student group when we pass resolutions that don't do anything. So I think that's been a really big push this year. That was what I really wanted out of the debate and why I wrote a resolution on it. And then as far as increasing services go, I think we need more initiatives like Green Fee, for example. Speaker of the Assembly, Tanner Long, is really involved in that and getting student support and support from the Texas legislature for funding all these awesome green projects that literally affect student life on campus, and I think that's great. So more things like that would be crucial for student government in my eyes.
Yeah. And playing off of that, I think for both Senate and student government, there needs to be a new education on like the purpose of legislation and parliamentary procedure and like how all of that works, because right now there isn't that much debate and there's not that much outside initiatives coming into these organizations, but any student can work on or write or partner with student government and Senate to write legislation on things that they're interested in or like projects that they're working on. So that doesn't have to be just this boring last resort kind of thing. That should be something that comes from students and from different organizations on campus. And then the debate that happens within all these General Assembly meetings, I think, could be a lot more constructive and substantive than it is, rather than, let's worry about the wording of this line or this word. I think it could be a lot more about getting the opinions of all of the college councils and their representatives and really increasing that dialogue that they have with their students more directly than student government as a whole might have that access.
So I sort of see this strange tension. I mean, even just sort of going back to campus carry. There were some protests on campus. I know that student government waged a pretty vigorous campaign against campus carry. You know, they nearly unanimously passed a resolution against it. I know that student government leaders lobbied at the Capitol, testified before, the Texas legislature on this issue, and still it passed. There was a letter that was signed by student leaders from across Texas that numbered about 285,000 students in total representation. That being said, though, since campus carry was passed, there have been so many more protests about it, and counter protests, and movements and forums on social media and otherwise. And so, Sasha, I guess specifically for you, because you're the civic engagement director, but I think everyone would have a valuable viewpoint on this. What do you think happened with that? I mean, did students not make themselves heard enough, or did the legislature not really care because of the history? I don't know. What's your take?
I think there's a couple factors, one of which was that people really didn't realize how much it really became real once the bill passed. People understood what it would actually be like to have students being able to bring weapons into a classroom, and then it just caught a lot of momentum there. I think part of the problem was that a lot of this was going on during the summer when students weren't around and professors. Another thing I think that would have made a big difference is if we had more support from other major institutions in Texas. So, for example, like Texas A&M, if we had been able to get a coalition of UT and A&M in the past, whenever there's a agreement on a policy from those two systems, then the Texas legislature is much more likely to listen. And I think that if there's some way to give professors more anonymity or more protection, or maybe people at high levels in these systems, more protection in being able to advocate for what students want instead of making it seem like their own personal political opinion, then that would really help a lot, because when you're in an administrative level, you're not supposed to be as partisan. You're still looking to get funding and support from a lot of different groups. So I think the important thing is to show that this is what students want, and so that when professors and administrators and everyone else is trying to support us, that they're taking our voice.
You guys are all involved in student engagement in different ways in promoting that. What would each of you say to student voters to try to get them to go to the ballot box on March 1st and to, participate as a lifetime voter? What would you say to promote student engagement to student voters?
I would say the first time is the hardest, so it's just important to get out there once. And I think my number one tip for voting is vote early, because it dramatically reduces the time, and you have 2 whole weeks to choose when you want to do it, so vote early.
I would say join a political organization, College Republicans, University Democrats, Students for Jeb, Students for Hillary, and I think those will be the best avenues to get involved this election to really shape your public policy opinions.
Yeah, and going off of that, to just be aware of all the resources that are available at UT, because some people say, well, I don't want to vote because I don't know enough about the issues or like the local elections or what different issues are being voted on. And so just take that time. When the election's going to be. There's plenty of people that are willing to connect you with that information you're looking for.